Kush's movie review.
Yes, welcome to Kush Movie Review. This week's movie review is Dune or June, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Dune Part 2, the sequel to the original Dune, which is a video game adaptation starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson, where they go to Mars, I believe, and have to fight aliens. It was a great video game, classic. So Dune.
You know what? I would watch a one play of that if that really existed. It does not though, and we will move on. We are talking about Dune Part Two. It is the sequel to Dune Part One, surprisingly, from 2021. Both were directed by Denis Villeneuve. It he's French, I believe, or I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like Denis Villeneuve. No, Denis Villeneuve, and co-written by John Spites, based on the book series of Frank Herbert, Dune and God of Dune and Emperor Dune. And I don't know. I believe there's like a dozen books in the title. Anyway, this movie is PG-13. Good action, but as far as the violence is concerned, yeah, don't worry about bringing your kids under 13 to this. They'll most actually likely be bored, but we'll get into that in a little bit here. 2 hours 46 minutes. Mike, you know me, man. It's already got stuff counting against it, but we'll get into that too in a minute here. As Mr. Fish mentioned, Timothée Chalamet, Oakland native Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson, Javier Bardem, Dave Bautista, Austin Butler, Josh Brolin, and Christopher Walken. And then there's a few more other bodies in there, but god damn it, like the main characters are Chalamet, Zendaya, and Ferguson. And then oh yeah, there was a Skarsgård. Skarsgård plays the Emperor. So saw Dune Part One when it came out in 2021, and before that, my only experience with the Dune series, I've never read the books, never read any of the books. I remember the 1985 David Lynch movie, and I've probably tried to watch that 5 or 6 times and has only made it successfully once, and I had no idea what the hell was going on. From what I understand, they were trying to like cram like 2 books into that super long movie. But however, if you're in dire need of a cure for insomnia, David Lynch's Dune is Dr. Cush's prescription for you. Um, about a decade and a half later, the Sci-Fi Channel would try their own hand at it and do a mini series of Dune. And I think they also tried to combine 2 books. However, they actually had a week long of mini series. So there was like it was a 10-hour mini series. I remember it being better than David Lynch, but the only other thing I remember is like, oh my god, these combat scenes for some reason now they're doing jujitsu and MMA. It was I found it to be quite comical at the time, but and this was at a time when UFC was not UFC yet. Like it was just kind of a thing that a folk.
Just a fat guy with one boxing glove versus a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yes, you are 100% correct on that, Mike Fish. So, anyways, we get to 2021. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and Warner Brothers decides to release Dune. It's only been advertised as Dune. We don't know anything else. All the marketing says Dune. So we have no other reason to assume that it would be kind of like David Lynch's Dune. However, once that movie starts, title card pops up, Dune. Okay, you're all paying attention. And then it goes part one. And I went, oh, fuck. I was immediately turned off knowing that, oh, we absolutely have another one of these coming. Having said that, once we got through that 2.5 hour movie, I wanted to see what happened next. It kept my attention the entire time. It's a complicated lore, complicated backstory. I'm still not 100% sure why the Emperor turned on House Atreides, whatever.
Hungarian.
Chalamet's family. I don't know what that was about. Um, however, I still felt it was easier to follow. Everything is very crisp and clean looking. However, a lot of it is just they're in the desert. So we get to Dune Part Two. My
Well,
biggest
but
shock
sorry,
with
I
Dune Part
apologize.
Two.
Jump in before you start talking about Dune Part Two. I will just say about the Dune Part One
Mhm.
was that it was a good, fun movie, good movie. It kept me like into it, like you say, the same.
Kept
But
your attention. Yeah,
it did like unlike
it ended
other
like shit.
movies, unlike other movies that have a part two or a sequel, they at least kind of have a somewhat of a mini story arc within them. So at least you feel somewhat of a that's the end of that story. Now I'm excited about part two. This, if I remember correctly, this did feel almost like abrupt of tune in
Just
next
hard
week for
stuff.
Dune 2. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Which was very frustrating for me. I apologize. But yeah,
No,
that was
that was
my thoughts.
frustrating for me too. That was frustrating for a lot of people. And then I think what added to the frustration is industry reports be like, so in a couple months they're going to start filming Dune Part Two, and I was like, whoa, 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 wait a minute. You went into this knowing it was going to be a Part One, and didn't even bother doing production for Part Two. You didn't film these back to back. Like one that's actually a cost saving move. But like, what if this movie was terrible? What if Dune Part One was absolutely terrible? Were you really just gonna just leave it there? Like it felt like a huge gamble that could not. With the pandemic and everything going against it, like felt like this could have been a huge failure. Um, Dune Part One, however, in the United States of America, they released it in theaters. Not a lot of theaters open, so they also released it on HBO Max the very same day. Domestically, still made $48 million. Quite very good for those early days of the pandemic. Um, Internationally, though, all the pandemic stuff was lifted. The restrictions were lifted, so people were free to go to the movie theater. There was no spacing. You could fill up a whole auditorium, and the international audience was all in on Dune Part One, and that's where it made it the majority of its money. And I guess that's why they went, all right, go do Part Two. But again, it's like such an extreme gamble. Anyways, Dune Part Two leaves off where Dune Part One ended. Um, Again, our hero Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya, they're following Javier Bardem into the desert. He is slowly being accepted into the Fremen culture, Fremen. By the way, this is series, a book series from like the 1960s. So Fremen, Freeman, you had a little more artistic license to be cute with shit like that. But the entire time they're saying Fremen, I'm actually like gritting my teeth. I don't know why. I'm just like, come on, guys. What the? Anyways, small nitpick. Small nitpick. Timothée Chalamet is the one. He rejects his quest. He's just like, I just want to be down with you guys. I want to fight with you guys. I don't want to be your leader. Blah 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 blah. And well, fate intervenes. He's got magical force powers. Oh, by the way, George Lucas stole a lot of the original Star Wars from this series. There's an emperor. There's force powers. You can literally do a Jedi mind trick on people. It's
Lots of sand.
lots of sand. There's surprisingly no gay robots on this, but hey, maybe that's what Dune Part Three is for. I don't know. I don't know. Um, Having said all that, dude, this was again kept my attention the entire time. I like to think I know what was going on. It felt like I felt like I had a pretty easy time following it. Acting is fantastic. Austin Butler is a really good bad guy. He should have a little more character development, but I liked his character. Again, the Emperor is super creepy looking, which is the point. Dave Bautista, he's there. I like seeing Dave Bautista and other stuff. Like I like to see him like, no, I'm trying to take like these roles seriously, and I'm trying to be a part of serious movies. He still does the one or two kids movies,
I
but still,
walk for miles inside this pit of danger. Da, 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 da.
he's maybe in only 10 minutes of this movie, which and
Boo.
a lot of the people in that cast roster I named suffer the same fate. They're 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes of this 2 hour and 45-minute extravaganza to the point where it's like, did his name really need to be on the poster? Again, nitpick.
His face is on the poster.
Did he need his own character sheet poster then? Again, small nitpick. Again, I liked everybody in this. The visuals are great, but remember, we're in a desert. So yeah, there's some cool nightscapes, some cool skylines, but sand looks like sand on any screen. We're going to talk about this later tonight with Oppenheimer as well, but don't fall for the hype of you need to see this the way it was intended to be seen on an IMAX. There's 10 IMAXs, 10 legitimate IMAXs in the entire United States continent. Everything else that says IMAX, if it's not one of those 9 or 10, it's just it's not the same thing. So just I saw this in a regular, normal ass 2D screen, and I was like, this looks beautiful. Oh, and because it's one of the newer theaters in San Francisco, the sound is fantastic. I didn't need to fucking do the. I feel like a lot of people don't know the difference between IMAX, Dolby, and just regular ass screen. Look, man, my TV set over here is pretty big, but the screen I saw it on was still like 10 times the size. Like, how big does this fucking thing need to be? Look, you're gonna have a good time. I promise you. If you want to go see it in IMAX, sure, do. Feel free to spend an extra $10. But I'm telling you, you're gonna have a good time in the theater, just seeing it in a theater. If you have to see it in IMAX because that's the only theater or only screening in 10 minutes, by all means do that. But don't drive 70 miles out of your way for that special format, guys. I'm telling you, don't believe the hype. If you got a shitty theater in your neighborhood, act accordingly. But I enjoyed Dune Part 2 all the way. I would like to go see it again. I might just wait for it to come on the old 4K TV here when it's on HBO Max or whatever it's called nowadays. However, Dune Part 2, 5 out of 5, and I want to see the next movie if that ever happens. I'm sure it will happen. This is doing financially pretty well. It's
I
like one of the best
fine.
rated movies of the last 10 years. I
Oh,
think it replaced the Shawshank Redemption as IMDb's top 250.
damn.
I
We'll
believe
see.
that's true. I need someone to double check that for me. Lathan, get on that some other time.
I will watch. I don't know if I'm going to venture out into the cinema. I'll probably wait till it's on HBO or whatever Max. Um, you know, it just does feel weird when you're saying our hero, Timothée Chalamet.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
He is the protagonist, so take that with you.
I know he is, but it just seems like such a, I don't know. He looks like, do you know who Timothée Chalamet should play? He should play Spider Man's younger brother.
Spider-Man doesn't have a younger brother.
I know, but I could see
I
him
mean, they
in a
could make
movie with
that. They
Tom
could make one.
Holland. I could see him and
I
Tom
believe he's
Holland
older
being,
than Tom Holland.
yeah, but he looks 12. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to be fair, Tom Holland doesn't look very old to be fair. So,
No, Timothée Chalamet is a very good actor. I've only seen him in a handful of things. There's some things I've wanted to see him in that I missed. Wonka was not one of them, but I understand people are enjoying that movie as well. So, and I believe that comes out on on the Max app this week. So, if you like Chalamet, you got tons of Chalamet this month. Yeah, he's a very good actor. Zendaya is good. Again, everyone is very good in this movie. There was not one weak link in the chain. So, and
except for needed more Dave Batista.
well, you would like more Dave Bautista. You will hate what Dave Bautista has to do in this movie. So
I
there's a
walk
there oh
alone.
there's a scene where Austin Butler fights a bunch of slaves in an arena a la Gladiator, and for whatever reason, the entire thing is in black and white. There's no
Ugh.
context to it. It's not a flashback to anything. It's present time for whatever. We started the scene in color, and then he entered the arena and everything was black and white. The crowd is in black and white. The emperor is there rooting on his nephew in black and white. um, I believe it said it was filmed with like much like a Zone of Interest on the last Best Picture review. Where like, yeah, they took that thermo camera, and for it, I think they used like a very sophisticated tune. Whatever. I don't understand what the context of that was. Um, Even in the terrible movie Thor: Love and Thunder, Thor Part 4, there is a moment where they go onto a planet that's entirely in black and white. They're like, the gravity on this thing has sucked all the color out of life, and you're like, oh, okay, that's weird, but that's at least an explanation.
Yeah.
We don't even get that in this. Again, but 5 out of 5. This one more fun fact: this movie was due to come out Thanksgiving.
Just the facts, ma'am.
3 months ago, and that would have put it in contention for this weekend's Oscars category. And I have to wonder what it would have done against those other 10 Best Picture nominees. Because I'm the way everyone is reviewing this, including yours truly, like I absolutely would see this among the 10. Which one would get plucked out of there? I don't know. It's a zone of interest, maybe, just because I hated that one a lot. Maestro, probably. That was just terrible. But yeah, Dune Part 2 is got a very strong contention for the next year Oscar ceremony. But I wonder what would have happened had the writer actor strike not affected its release. That's all I got.
Maybe that was a conscious decision. Maybe that was like we've got Barbie, we've got Oppenheimer, we've got all these great movies.
There's some strong contenders in this
maybe
year's Best Picture.
But we'll get into that release it a little bit later, and maybe we can win something next year. Maybe.
A big thing for all the studios pushing dates back was like, well, we can't. Timothée Chalamet is not allowed to now plug movies during the month of October, so push Dune back. I don't think that. I honestly don't think their box office would have been affected by that had they kept it at its original date.
No. I don't think there was, and this is not legitimately. I'm not trying to be funny. This is not a knock on Timothée Chalamet, but I don't think that this could have been any of the actors in the movie. Zendaya, Dave Bautista, who I love, remember that. But yeah, I don't think anyone who was going to see Dune 2, there was no one on the fence, and then going, oh wait, that interview that Timothée Chalamet did was so good that sold me. Here's my money. Mm-hmm. Like they were going to go see anyway. So
yeah, again, it's Dune, so it's already got that built-in core audience. Denis Villeneuve, he's got his own built-in core audience. Like people, and then Dune Part 1 already happened, and because it was on HBO Max, it had a wide berth. Like regardless of how much money it made, thousands of people saw it and loved it. So like people were already excited about this, and then the popcorn buckets came out.
Happy days.
Happy. So
there you go.
Again, Dune Part 2, 5 out of
5. Before we wrap up this week's movie review, just to give you a little heads up on a new feature, we are trying to pimp. I guess that's the right word. So in future, to check out our socials at Wafflebox on Twitter, not X, Twitter, and we'll post up ahead of time what Kush will be reviewing in next week's episode. And then if you've also seen that movie, then you too can review the movie by getting involved. You can leave us a voicemail and we will play your thoughts on the movie during Kush's movie review. Fun, right? So make sure you follow our socials at Wafflebox on Twitter. And the number that you need is 347 559 5227. That's 347 559 5227. Give that number a call, leave us a voicemail, and I'll play it on the show. Fun stuff.
There you go.
So that was a Dune 2, 5 out of 5. Make sure you check it.
That's all, folks.
Play me off, Johnny.